Hey everyone, let's discuss top 5 moments from the first episode of the second season, Interview the Vampire. What can the damned really have to say to the damned? It's just you and me and you, and my cat Ginger, either licking herself, sleeping, staring at me. All right, so this is just also a way for me to focus on each episode and not just talk about it lovingly and chaotically. So we'll see how this goes. All right. This is in no particular order. I'm going to discuss Morgan. Morgan, or that whole like early scene is from the books. I was glad to see that it was still included. Much like in the first season, I was so happy to see that Louis' family was definitely part of his story arc. And initially before the show came out, I thought um, it may not be included, but they kept it, and I loved it. It really like set the tone for how closely and lovingly the writers were following along with the books, and really the emotional core of Interview with a Vampire. All right, so I'm already going off on a tangent. So Morgan is still in the story. I love that he was still included, and there's that uh, vampire lore that Anne Rice is tipping her hat to in the books, right? Which is like the uh, more monstrous. I guess you could say through other nods to other books, um, as well as like not being so conscious as Louis and other vampires in Interview with the Vampire are, right? And I also loved that Morgan is somehow involved in photography, and we see how the character uses that skill to point something out to Louis. Because in the trailer, we see that Louis takes up photography, and I just thought that was so important that we see an early on character play some sort of interest and influence on Louis in some way. Uh, Photography is like this introspective art. It's definitely an art form that could, depending on like who your subject is, um, or what your subject is, can be an isolating art form. And so I like in the trailers that I'm seeing Louis take up that art form, and once again we kind of see like, oh, maybe this all kind of like started from this interaction. And I thought that was really cool. That's not in the books, it's an inclusion here. And yeah, I just like the whole little early on arc of the story. I mean, they basically spend like one whole episode here, but I like that because there's so much um, that's said in this episode that sets up the rest of the season. That will lead me to number two, Daciana. This is a character that Daciana was not in the books, but I like the placement of the character and the uh, how she serves a story and really drives home what Claudia is looking for. In Daciana, Claudia sees someone she may like potentially be able to get answers from, and there's this interaction between her and Daciana, and you just see that she has like this glimmer of hope, this vision of what could be, and that is like completely dashed away because ultimately what Daciana is being told is that she's the last one of her kind in a way, or perceived to be. So she doesn't see a way for her to keep living. Maybe she doesn't feel like she has a purpose here. But also through her character, Louis brings up his hypothesis of the blood being bad. And I mean, we hear him talk about it early on, discussing it with Claudia, and he takes it as like the sadness of the people contributing to being in a war and not being able to be made into vampires. But I would also take that further because I don't think it's necessarily sadness, although I think emotions do play a part in creating a vampire. I mean, even look at Louis. Louis is a character uh, that, as the story unravels, we could see what's ailing him. But also, this is a character that when Lestat made him, he was made with like a deep love for each other, um, but also like a deep sadness over at that moment Louis like circumstances of what he's going through his family and society, and so he was like made into a vampire, and I feel like that was all kind of like imbued in him. On top of that, in the first season, when Lestat drinks from someone that's sick, he spits out their blood and says, "Oh, cancer." So, and then like unalives the person. And now in I think this is going to play a part in modern day, present time, Dubai and otherwise, because they're still like in the time period of the pandemic. So if that's what's going on, and I think there was like allusion to like something's going on with the vampires, and I think it's because of the pandemic that the blood is bad presently. And so when we look at the war, it's not just sadness. It's just like it's not having access to food, probably not access to clean water, and who knows what like there's drugs, who knows what like toxins they're all taking in, and so those are all contributing factors in the blood being bad. And so like it's those things that the show has laid the groundwork in the first season, bringing up the pandemic, and then again bringing Daciana, having that conversation really like makes you realize how much you have to pay attention to like every little thing that they're bringing up on the show. Uh, and speaking of like all the emotions and everything, that brings me to number 3, which is holy moly, Jacob Anderson. His acting is incredible this season. I mean, he was incredible last season because you have to think about like we're seeing this character so convincingly throughout these different timelines and different shifts in their life emotionally. And he has to play that and we have to believe that it's all the same person, but clearly see the nuances of that person changing over the time and just believe it. And so in Dubai, that moment where Louis thanks Daniel, just that moment held like such a range of emotions, from just you could just see him cracking open that there's I feel like Louis has this in present day Dubai, he's just like fully a vampire. There's part of his humanity he can't like tap into anymore. It's just gone. And I think he's trying to access that. And with Daniel, he doesn't. He cracks that kind of like I want to say it's like a dam that's been closed and like that levee's been pulled and it's all coming out of him. So you're seeing this emotion of like sadness, grief, realization, and like with a tinge of joy. And Jacob Anderson has to play all of that and kind of like have this well of gratitude bubble up as he thanks Daniel. And across from him is Eric Bogosian playing Daniel, and then like the way that he plays off that, and he also is like reacting to the vulnerability of that moment from Louis. I mean, that exchange was incredible. It was so good. I love that moment. So yes, uh, Louis shedding a tear was incredible. Um, there's two things I want to bring up. I'm not sure which one to bring up first. So, um, where do we go here? I'll go to okay. Number 4 is gonna be Dreamstat. um, So Lestat appears, and it's really a projection of Louis, like, uh, everything he's not dealing with, everything that he's feeling, his grief, regret, love, everything that he has for Lestat. He's really what they did is like weighing on his conscience so much so that we're seeing like this embodiment through this like dream stat experience for the character Louis, who's trying to like work it all out. And so when we're hearing Lestat, we're really hearing um all that Catholic guilt, right? Because Louis grew up Catholic, about what happened. And so when Lestat says something of the part of like, you know what, I'm gonna come after you, but I'm waiting for you to be happy. I feel like what that really is Louis saying, one, I can never be happy. And two, if I have a glimmer of happiness, I'm gonna wait for it to be taken away from me. And I think that comes from him feeling like he doesn't deserve happiness. Um, which is wild because of everything that he went through in season one, and getting to the point where he agrees with Claudia for what happened to Lestat. They felt like they were never going to escape Lestat clutches unless they did what they did. And so, um, to me, that also sounds very much like everything that Lestat is saying is just like a symptom of depression for me when I'm hearing it. And with Dream Stat, there's that moment where that bird comes out of Lestat's neck. And I've been thinking about it. I know I brought it up on a previous segment, but I realized like, oh, you know what that's a symbol of? Because it is a bird, and I've mentioned it before, but I was thinking about what that looks like visually, right? And that's that they quite literally had to cut Lestat's throat to be free of him and his two birds, because Lestat has referred to um well, Claudia, no, no, no. Yeah, Lestat referred to Claudia as a bird, and but like in a way to like make her feel weak. And said that is want to say it in like a narrative in the first season, something along the lines of I was Lestat's baby bird. And so I just felt like that was very symbolic. Like they had to cut his throat in order to be free to leave the nest. And so I felt like that's why the bird flew away from his neck. And I thought that was like, I don't know why, it just finally hit me because I've seen it so many times in the trailer and I was like trying to figure it out. And I just thought that was like, it's so like gruesome and beautiful and symbolic. And so, yeah, I love that moment. Uh, and then leading into number five, because I will bring up Dreamstat again with number five is you and me and you, that little monologue that was so powerful that Louis has at the end of the episode. What got to me was not really, I mean, the whole performance was incredible. We're gonna be seeing that all throughout the season for Jacob Anderson. But it was really Louis saying it over and over again. He's making a promise to Claudia. Uh Dreamstat is there as well. But I don't think he's like, I think he really believes what he's saying. And he's also saying it because he's struggling to make sure, like, he wants to earn Claudia's trust back. He wants to reassure her. He, and their experience of Daciana, in a way, I felt like drove home something for Claudia that is an insecurity for her. It was Lestat on one side and Louis on the other, and Lestat made her feel like not enough, like she didn't really belong there. They're supposed to be a family, but she didn't feel like enough, and he like told her as much. And then with Daciana jumping into the fire, I think she had that glimmer of hope, and it got kind of like snuffed out. So once again, she feels like I'm not enough. So by the time we get to the you and me monologue, he does quite literally tell her that she's enough. And I'm very proud of myself because I didn't cry, but that really hit me because I feel like that's exactly what she wants to hear. This through everything. I feel like maybe if Lestat and Louis, we could do what if all day, but if they made her feel like she was enough, um, that would have saved them a lot of grief. Because she also wants to be loved, deserves to be loved, but she feels like she's limited in a capacity because of the frame that she's in, right? She can't become an adult physically. And so what also hit me really hard in that monologue is Louis saying, "As long as you're alive, I will never step into the fire." And I felt like that also hit me because I feel like once again, this whole episode is setting up uh what's going to go on for the rest of the season. And I feel like that's a nod to what's going to happen in episode 8, which I very much think is going to be what happened in the book Merrick. Like the fact that they're going through the journals and everything, this is all from Merrick. And so, I mean, we do get like an idea throughout the books that she had diaries, but that was like a really like something Louis really had a face in Merrick. And so I think that's all gonna play out, in the season. So, yeah. Uh, oh, and with that said, with that you and me scene, when Louis is saying that and he sees that, like, that projection of Lestat, um, Lestat all he has, like, his all his sympathy and sadness and maybe feeling like letting down Claudia because Dreamstat looks at Claudia a certain way, and I felt like that's what that look was holding. Um, was all that feelings, but through Dreamstat. So he has a big promise that he made, and I don't think it's something that he could really live up to. So those are my top 5. I could talk about the episode all day. I want to give a special little shout out to what Dreamstat says. I even had to write it down. He says, I have a new piece, Concerto for Gash Throat and Orchestra, that just had me cracking up. And if you've been watching all the interviews like I have, you'll know that um, Sam Reed was really like actually playing with his throat for the scene, but they just like cut that out. And I thought that would have been probably too much. It probably would have like leaned too funny in that moment. And it was already ridiculous enough. But I love that. So there we go. I did top 5. I'm trying to like not make this so long and go off on a tangent. In the meantime, looks like Ginger is might be enthralled by someone that's not me. All right. So if you're watching, thank you. Um, I'm trying to think. I am gonna do a live again. So feel free to join me. I think I'm just gonna show up like 10 minutes before the episode starts. It's gonna be like 5:50 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So that'll be 8:50 Eastern. Just so I can get on. I'm trying to like pick up other art and also there's like an article with all the episode titles except for number 8, which is another thing I'd like to talk about, but I'll wait till the next episode. I go live, so if you're not able to join, it's fine. I'm just doing that so you can have it available. And if you want to like chat with me, even though like in the replay, I'm here for it. I could talk about this book, all the books, and the series on and on and on. All right. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to support me and make sure you get the notifications. Uh, like to boost me in the algorithm, please. Comment below because I really want to hear what you think. My daughter's so tired of hearing me talk about this show and the books. All right, everyone. I love you lots and take it easy. Bye.